Afghanistan. As Chinook helicopters buzzed round America's Kabul embassy, those with long memories thought of the final frenzied departure of America from Saigon, the capital of what was then South Vietnam, in 1975. Those who crammed onto helicopters off that embassy roof were a tiny minority of the Vietnamese who fled. More than 1.5 million would leave into the same sort of unknown that many Afghans now face. The Pulitzer Prize-winning author Viet Thanh Nguyen was one of them. He was 4
That's quite a sight.
Vietnam and made his way to the US.
Just looking over the water.
What he made of the events of the past fortnight.
I have been heartbroken. I have been captured by the events that we have been seeing in Kabul in Afghanistan. I think I respond as a human being, but I also respond as a Vietnamese who was a refugee from the fall of Saigon in 1975. And while these situations are not the same, what I do see that is similar is that we have a refugee crisis. We have a humanitarian crisis, and I went through that, and I know that this does not end simply with the events that are happening right now, but that the people who are escaping from Afghanistan will have years and decades of trauma and emotional devastation to look forward to, and likewise there are so many more people who will not get out, who also face enormously difficult circumstances, and I feel for them.
What do you think refugees need most, I suppose, in the short, medium and then long term?
Of course, in the short and medium terms, what they need the most is evacuation and also just the basic human needs. So many refugees, the lucky ones right now, are ones who are actually getting out on the air evacuation, but there are so many more who are trapped at land border sites with Pakistan, for example. They become dehumanized. They go from a situation in which they are fully fledged citizens and residents of the countries and the societies that they're in, and then all of a sudden they become displaced, homeless, they have almost nothing with them. And in many circumstances, refugees are deeply stigmatized by the countries that they arrive in or that they want to get into. And we already see some of these desperate conditions around the airport itself, obviously with the bombing, but also simply with this sight of potential refugees being forced to try to reach the airport by wading through sewage. I mean, this is just one indication of the short-term dehumanization of refugees. And then in the long term, of course, what we need to understand is, again, the refugee situation does not end simply when Westerners, especially Americans, pull out of Afghanistan. In Vietnam, what we saw is that the long-term effects of the war would continue for decades.
Coming off the bridge now.
Experiencing re-education camps and economic zones, being forced to become oceanic refugees.
Sound like much, but that was an experience.
These people tipped to the seas. I can't predict, obviously, what will happen to the people of Afghanistan, but I know for certainty that the long-term effects of this war's end will continue, and we need to be aware of that, and we can't take our eyes away from what will happen to the Afghan people.
Is there ever...
I can testify that there was so much trauma that happened to this refugee community.
Officially in
In
Wales.
so many different ways, from poverty and alcoholism and domestic abuse and